Appreciate it, Coach. And just want to say, man, it's been crazy. I remember you started this thing 3 weeks ago, and it's
Four.
4 weeks ago. Man, it's been 4 weeks already. My goodness.
Crazy.
But it's amazing to see how much this thing has grown, and all the coaches who have come on to present and to listen. It's been awesome, man, and definitely someone to brighten everybody's day during these tough times. So just definitely appreciate that. Appreciate all the other speakers who have come before me and after me, and everyone for being here today. So definitely want to dive in and talk about developing an uncommon culture in your position meeting room. I coach the running backs at James Madison University. It's an FCS school up here in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Going into my second year now. Just came off a really successful year. We finished as the national runner-ups, lost to North Dakota State in the national championship game in a tough game. But had a really great year with the guys on and off the field, and just kind of want to share some things with you guys that I've done here and even prior to here when I was at my previous stops. Just a quick coaching background, just my background. I'm from Ohio. Went to high school in Cincinnati, Ohio. Played at Capital University. It's a D3 school. I played running back there, and then got my coaching start there right afterwards. Was a GA there for one season, and then moved and coached high school ball right there at St. Charles. Met some great people who are still some of my best friends today in coaching, and then worked my way up to Ohio State, where I became an intern GA, and really my time at Ohio State really laid the foundation for me as a coach. And a lot of who I am today, the values I hold, how I go about my business and coaching, I really learned during my time there with Coach Meyer and his great staff. Moved on to Ohio Dominican University, D2 school in Ohio, and then I went to Elon for 2 years prior to coming to James Madison. I did have a short stint this past spring, a year ago. I got to do the Bill Walsh minority internship with the 49ers for 2.5 weeks, which is another invaluable learning experience for me. Moving on here, so some talking points today. I'm going to kind of dive into culture. Obviously, what's the foundation of everything, and then kind of how the identity and the standards fit into that. Then want to touch on some classroom management stuff, some teaching stuff, and how things get taught. And then move on to kind of real briefly just talk about some of the leadership roles and how kind of all that kind of fits into that. If at any point in time you guys have any questions, feel free to just stop me or put it in the chat box, and I'll get those answers as best as I can. Again, this real brief graphic. I'm going to kind of go into this a little bit later. Again, had a pretty successful year as a unit. These are our rushing numbers. As you know, we were 10th in the nation rush yards per game. We're very, very productive. And the production really came from 6 guys total, primarily from 4 guys who played a lot, a 5th guy who played a good amount of time, and then the 6th guy played a lot early on before we ended up redshirting him. It was a full unit attack. Multiple guys contributed, multiple guys played, and it was a really, really fun group to coach. And I'm really looking forward to coaching them again as I have everybody returning that really contributed in those first 4 guys. I'm really looking forward to that. All right, so going straight into the culture, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this before. It's called the Performance Pathway. The first time I laid eyes on this was when Tim Kite, Focus 3, came to Ohio State at the end of the 2013 season. We had just lost back-to-back games after winning, I think it was 24 in a row. We lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten Championship, and then Clemson in the Orange Bowl. And he came through, and he really did a great job of just kind of laying all these things out, building a culture and brotherhood of trust and all those things. And one of the things that really stuck with me, even up until this day, was his performance pathway. And, the whole idea that leaders create culture, culture drives behavior, and behavior produces results really has just resonated with me. And it's really something I've really kind of built my entire coaching form around, and how I go about coaching my unit. And even when I was a special teams coordinator, how I went about coaching up the entire special teams unit. So I really want to dive in to the cultural piece here in the beginning. All right, so an uncommon culture. Now, The uncommon word I really got from this quote that I had found um, by George Washington Carver. And it just says, when you do the things in life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. So this past summer, after spending the first spring there, I really went to work with this with my guys in our weekly meetings that we had throughout the summer, just really honing in on this uncommon culture. And essentially what I really wanted them to get to understand is I want us to be different. And different doesn't mean that we're the most productive unit statistically in the country or this, that, or not. Rather than I wanted us to be different in how we go about our everyday business, how we practice, how we are in meetings, how we are off the field. Because I think it's really, we see this all the time. It's really easy to do what everybody else is doing, right? It's normal to take the easy route. I really wanted my guys to really hone in on being different, be uncommon, do things that normal people don't do the things that everyone else doesn't really want to do the things that are hard, be uncommon. So the entire thing was kind of built around this uncommon word, and it really stemmed from this quote. So I'm going to kind of dive into that a little bit more. So what is culture? As defined, I found this definition online. It's the best one I found that I really like. It's just a measure of observable behaviors within a group that are promoted and accepted. And really the keywords I like in there is a measure of observable things that are promoted and accepted. And I think those are really easy to see and to evaluate and to understand as they're visual. I believe culture is the foundation of everything. And I think what that culture consists of will determine how resistant the foundation is. So if it's a really good culture, a really strong culture, that foundation will be able to withstand anything that comes its way. It won't crack. There will be no cracks in the foundation. It will be able to withstand anything. If it's a bad culture, a negative culture, then that foundation will probably start to crack, will start to lose this substance and eventually crumble and fall apart. Again, understanding, as the performance pathway says, culture drives behavior. So essentially what I did last summer, and this really, I did this video, it's been around for a while. I'm sure some of you have seen it, and I used this video at Elon as well while I was there. So one of the very first things, my first meeting last summer when I was really starting to build this uncommon culture and how to go about it, is we watched this video by Admiral William McRaven. He spoke at a University of Texas commencement some years back, and had this whole "If you want to change the world" speech, which I thought was really great. And really the one thing that really resonated in there is, if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. And it's such a simple task. It's something so simple to do. But really, when you wake up in the morning, as I told my guys, when you wake up in the morning, make your bed. It's something simple, something most of them don't even think about, because why do I have to make it? It doesn't really matter. But it's just a simple detail and something that becomes part of your routine that you do that really kind of starts leading to other things as well. So we watched the video, and then within the quote, he ends up saying, if you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. Which then led me to talking to my guys about details. When you're building this culture, what's important, and how do you get to really hone in on what this uncommon culture is all about? And the first part of it, I told my guys how we go about it is being detailed, telling them every detail matters, no matter how little. Even something as simple as making your bed, because a lot of them would ask me, Coach, why I got to make my bed? All I'm going to do is come back, after lunch and lay and make it a mess again. And I would always tell them, just like the Admiral said, yeah, but it's a nice feeling when you come home to a made bed. It feels much better laying in the made bed than it does laying into a messy bed, something so simple. So I really started honing in on this. Every time I saw them, I'd ask them if they made their bed. I would text them in the morning, ask them if they made their bed. And it's really gotten to the point where all of them make their bed now. And they've even told me, Coach, it's kind of something so simple, but it's become part of my everyday routine. And it's a small detail, but one that could matter. And then the next part of that is being disciplined. If every detail matters to you, no matter how small that detail may be, you'll be able to build discipline. You can't be disciplined if you only focus on the big things, because you only focus on the big things, you're going to miss out on the little things that make that big picture come together. So being detailed, being disciplined, and then being intentional. If you are detailed and are disciplined about how you use each detail, you will become intentional in everything you do. And to be intentional is to be uncommon, because now when you're intentional, you're conscious, you're very conscious of what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're going about your business. Everything has a purpose. You're not just doing things because that's just what you want to do. There's a rhyme and reason of why you're doing it. Continuing on the uncommon culture. So this is also something along the lines where I've encountered this from the Focus 3 with Tim Kite, talking about being discipline driven and default driven. To be discipline driven means you're very intentional. Again, you can't be intentional without discipline. You can't have discipline without being detailed. And when you're intentional, you're very disciplined in really these three areas: your attitude, your actions, and your words. And the thing I always want my guys to understand is that people feel your attitude, okay? They see your actions and they hear your words. So understand that you are delivering an experience for somebody else by how you make them feel, what you say, or what you do, or what they see you do. And I want our position group, my position group, to be the absolute best on the team. And when I say I want them the best on the team, again, I don't mean I want us to have the most production, okay, score the most touchdowns, have the most yards, have the most big plays or whatnot. I simply want other position groups to look at us and say, I want to be like them. That is a position group. That is a group of guys that loves playing together with each other. They are always on time. They do the little things right. They go to class. They take care of their academics. They practice extremely hard. And when their number is called, they always seem to show up. That's what I really want us to be. And in order to be that, you have to be discipline driven. You have to be intentional. And if you are all those things, now you are uncommon, because I think it's very hard to constantly self-assess yourself and making sure that you're doing the right things, that you're disciplined in how you're making people feel, disciplined in what you're saying, and then disciplined in what you're doing. To be default driven is just being unintentional. You're not detailed, you're not disciplined, you're not intentional. That's just like everybody else. It's really easy to be like the general mass. I don't want us to be like the general mass. I want us to go in the opposite direction and be different, be uncommon. So that's kind of the ins and outs of that uncommon culture. The next part of this is just talking about the identity within our culture, within this uncommon culture. And I want to build a unit that's consisted around family, what is I call a brotherhood. And really just honing into them that without each other, there is no us. In order for us as a unit to strive and to achieve excellence and to be at the best we possibly can be, we all need each other. They need the guy sitting next to them, and they need me, and I need them, and it all works together. Without each other, there is no us. You cannot do anything alone, okay? A group is always stronger together than it is when it's just one person. Obviously, the biggest part in that brotherhood is letting them know that, one, you love them, and also letting each other know that they love each other. And I think when there is love, matter of fact, I believe in my heart, when there is love for each other, now you can begin to trust each other. And if you trust each other down to the core, now you can really push yourselves and each other to limits you didn't know you could get to, or beyond limits you didn't know you could get past before. And if you love each other and now you can trust each other, you can push each other, you can really start building an unbreakable bond within that brotherhood. So that no matter what goes on, no matter what happens, no matter how high or how low things go, or whatever is going on, that they know that my brother in my unit has my back. Coach has my back. I know they have my back. Again, without each other, there is no us. Now, in order to get to this, it does take time. It takes time to build. And you have to be able to invest the time to be able to build that brotherhood. You don't just develop that love for each other right away. That trust doesn't come right away. It takes time to build that. And you do that, again, by being intentional in everything that you do. Myself as the coach, I'm very intentional about everything I do, how I interact with them, making sure that they know that I trust them, that I love them, that I want to push them. And it's, as well as them, they really work on, as we get to know each other, really loving each other, trusting each other, and then they can begin to push each other. going on here with the brotherhood. You know, what I like about building it as a brotherhood. You know, we always talk about our team as a family, our unit as a family. And what I really like about the brotherhood is the concept of sibling rivalries. And I'm sure some of you have older siblings, younger siblings. I have an older brother, and I have 4 younger siblings. And you know, the one thing I always remembered growing up is I want to beat my sibling. I want to beat my brother in everything. One-on-one basketball, whatever it might be. Might be playing a card game or video games. I want to beat him. Okay, in life, I want to beat him. However, I never want to see him fail. And I think what's unique about that, if you treat it like a brotherhood in that sense, is you create that friendly rivalry, yet a very tense competition within that rivalry, within that brotherhood. So in the sense that, hey, I don't want to see you fail, but I'm going to do everything I can to beat you. And when I do beat you, I hope that you do everything you can to beat me. And in doing that, now we are pushing each other to constantly be better in everything that we do on the field and off the field. Within that, obviously, within the brotherhood, you are genuinely happy for someone when somebody else makes a big play. So no matter who the running back is in the game, it's very important that the other guys show that they care about him. When he makes a big play, they are just as excited or even more excited as they would be for themselves when they make that big play. So they support each other no matter what, through thick and thin. They joy together. When things are going great, they do it together. And when things are going bad, we do that together as well. Great picture there on the right. The boys is right after a touchdown. One of the things that I do with my guys that I promote to them, that I encourage them, matter of fact, almost demand for them, is the second one of us scores a touchdown, is I want the rest of the group to be waiting for them as they come off the field and greet them and celebrate with them. And I think that's really important. It shows that we are one unit. It shows that we are a brotherhood. It shows that we are generally excited for you, right? Even if it's the guy who just had 3-4 runs in a row that got the ball down inside the 5-yard line, he might get pulled for the next guy to come in and finish it off. That guy who just got pulled is going to be one of the first guys there to greet his teammate and congratulate him on scoring the touchdown. We can all eat. There's plenty to go around. The key is just to know your role. There's a quick video I want to show you guys. I'm going to have to just stop sharing this clip here for a second and share another one. If you guys just bear with me here for 2 seconds. All right, here you go. So this is I just wanted to show you guys the video. Percy, one of my starting running back, had just scored a touchdown. Hopefully this isn't too choppy for you guys. And then you see right there, 7, Juwan, 42, Solomon, and Eric Curlew coming in the picture right there. One of the first guys to greet him right as he walks off the field. I think this is important. This really became a thing throughout the entire year. All 39 touchdowns we scored. The running backs were the first guys to get down there and to greet each other and to cheer each other on. And then the next piece of that, which I think is very important, something I do, the second they come off the field, after their brothers are there to greet each other, is I give all of my guys a hug. They scored a touchdown when the play's over, I give them a hug right away just to say, hey, good job. Just enforces positivity. It shows that I care. It shows that I'm happy for them. It shows that I love them. And this is something I do after every single time they come off the field after the drive ends after a touchdown. Go back here to the PowerPoint. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right, yeah, just watch the video. All right, now building trust. Okay, understand that trust is earned. It's not given, and this does go both ways. Yeah, you know, as coaches, we want our players to show that, you know, we should trust them, but also I want them to know that they can trust me as well. It should go both ways. Some of the ways you can build trust, you know, is through your behavior. Be uncommon. You know, you can't preach this message of being uncommon, of being intentional, of being disciplined in your thoughts, actions, and words if you yourself aren't living that day in and day out. Understand that you are creating an experience for them the same way that you want them to create an experience for the rest of the team. So it's really important that you are very consistent, you're fair, okay, that you're very honest with them, that you create belief and not fear, that you show them that you love them, that you show them that you care. And I think the most important way, the number one way to build that trust is by those repeated experiences. You know, one of my players, you know, for whatever reason, wherever he picked it up, I'm not sure where, had this motivation of fear for whatever it was. When I first got here at spring ball, and he would, you know, he would make a play, whatever it might be, simple play, might be a big play in practice or just a simple play in practice, and immediately be like, "Coach, was that okay? Was that okay? Was that good enough?" And I would constantly tell him, "Don't worry about it. Just keep playing. You know, I'll tell you if something could have been better or not, but I just want you to focus on the one play and then move on to the next play." And in the same sense, when he made a mistake, he was terrified, almost petrified, where he would be like, "Coach, I'm so sorry. I made that mistake. I'm sorry. This shouldn't have happened." And that's something that I really wanted to get rid of. So I really started encouraging him, just focusing on one play at a time. I don't want him to play scared. Just play himself, play really hard, and we'll figure everything else out later. Something like that, really, an experience like that can really help build trust between you and that player, and really being able to give them a positive experience rather than giving them a negative experience. Because once you give these guys a negative experience, it's really hard to go backwards and to take that back. Some of the other ways that I really think is important is to address them by their first name, unless, of course, they want to be addressed by something else. I think it makes it more personal rather than just calling them by their last name. You know, but to me, I call everyone by their first name: Percy, Juwan, Solomon, Latrell, Austin, and Eric, the guys I had last year, by their first name all the time. Don't make everything about football. You know, when you're in those meeting rooms, or just, you know, it might be in the cafeteria at lunch, or they might just stop by your office. Don't just talk about football. Talk about their family. Talk about their girlfriends. You know, show them that you care, because the more you show them that you care, the more that you show them that you're willing to listen, the more they're going to begin to start to open up about their lives towards you. And that's really what you want. Now you can really create that establishment. Now, in the same sense, be open about your own life. You know, I've shared hardships that I've endured throughout my life, whether it was my playing career, coaching career, or just my everyday normal social career that I've shared with them. You know, I think it's good to share that, you know, to let them know that you're not perfect either, but to show them, hey, this is how I handled the situation. I either handled it the wrong way or the right way. Here's what I could have done better. Here's what I think I did well. Hope you guys can learn from this. And then obviously open up your home. You know, I'm very fortunate that I live literally on the other side of the highway from campus. I can walk to campus in less than 8 minutes. And they know that my door is always open. They're welcome to come by anytime they want. And then the last thing is I make sure my guys know that they are my why. I'm in this awesome, awesome profession, coaching this game that we love because of them. And I make sure that they know that. And in the summer, when I was going through this uncommon culture teaching presentation I was doing with them as I was building this up, I actually had a segment where I was talking about what is your why. And all of them have their own whys. Some of them have multiple whys. I have multiple whys, and I told them one of the big whys of why I do what I do is because of them. I want to help them succeed in life, not just in football, but in life. Trust doesn't exist without love. Care deeply for your players. It's more than just an athlete. If they know, and more importantly, if they feel that you care about them, the opportunities are endless. All right, moving on now, talking about the standard. The standard that we live by within our culture is we love to eat. And simply for us, eat just simply stands for effort, attitude, toughness. It's a standard we live by. And a message I always preach to them is staying in the present moment and controlling what you can control. Control the controllable. And I know some of you guys, if you heard Coach Goebel speak earlier, he said the same thing, talking about controlling the controllables. And the great thing about all three of those, about effort, attitude, and toughness, is that those are three things that you can control. You can control the amount of effort you give. You can control your attitude, what your mindset is. Okay, and you can control your toughness because it kind of goes within your mindset. Those are controllable things. I think they're very important. So I want to show you 3 clips that I consider that fall into the eat category. So I have an eat tracker. It's on our whiteboard, and everyone has their numbers up there. And throughout the year, starting from training camp, I just simply, if they got an eat in practice or in a game, they get a mark. Okay, and then by the end of the year, whoever has the most eats, will get some kind of something, award, shirt, T-shirt, whatever it might be. And then also, there's also a loaf tracker. So a loaf would be if you don't give enough effort, if you had a bad attitude or whatnot. And then actually what the loaf tracker does, it takes away from one of your eats. So if you had 3 eats and you got a loaf, okay, now you're down to 2 eats, simple math. And I track those, they're on the board for everybody to see so that they can all see it. And there's really 3 things that I look for guys to gain and eat. Either they do something that's an exceptional, selfless effort, something where they're doing that's incredible without the ball in their hands, running downfield to get a block, whatever it might be, or just straining to get a block and pass pro, or whatever it might be. Opposing your will on an opponent, just simply defeating their will. Maybe you're running through 3 or 4 tackles and you can just tell at the end of the play they're just defeated. Or just a great individual effort. Maybe it was just a crazy run. We had some crazy yak yards, and yards after contact. Or it was a big money down conversion, a 3rd and 6 in the playoffs, where you need a big first down to ice the game. We hand the ball off and you get the first down. So just simple like that. And then what I actually do is those categories begin with me, but I actually confirm them with the room. So I might have an eat. They actually might say, Coach, I wouldn't really consider that an eat. And we'll take it off. And I let them all kind of, as a unit, in the majority overrules, do that. The same way, there might be something where I didn't give, Percy the eat, for example, but the rest of the room might say, Coach, I think that's an eat. But in order for somebody to get it or get it taken away, it has to be the entire room together who confirms that with us. So I just got 3 clips here just to show you. This very first one, just an exceptional, selfless effort. You see my running back in the backfield out of pass protection. He's running through. Quarterback begins to scramble, okay? And then he immediately turns, finds his defender, and just gives great effort and just buries him into the ground. It's one of my favorite clips of the year from this kid. And again, just a great, exceptional, selfless effort. And I think these things are contagious. I think your teammates see that. Your teammates see that you are really giving everything you have for them, that they will start to do the same thing as well. Again, right? You want other units to look at us and say, I want to be like them. That's the uncommon culture. Here's one opposing your will on an opponent. This is in the playoff game, the semifinals against Weber State. Okay, gave it to our big boy running back, and right at the end of this run, you see how he drags that defender about 7 yards backwards. Okay, this is towards the end of the game. We have the lead. We're trying to ice the clock, and this is simply just as simple as this, just defeating his will. Okay, we're imposing your will on him. You hit him, you knock him backwards about 3 or 4 yards. Here comes the cavalry in the pursuit. They're all trying to bring you down, and they simply can't. That would be considered an eat. And this one right here is just I'm going to go to the end zone copy for this. This right here is just an unbelievable individual effort, right? Just the toughness component of the eat factor, of just having crazy yak yards and not being denied. He gets hit at about the 10-yard line and just has a great individual effort of just running through tackles and not being denied on his way into the end zone and ends up getting into the end zone. That stuff is contagious. People see that. So just a couple examples of what I consider an eat. So again, the standard, right? Be the standard. It's uncommon. Effort, attitude, toughness, eat. The other thing I also do within the standard that I preach to my guys is accept the challenge. Put it on us. We take great pride in what we do. Coach Signetti, our head coach, is a big believer in running the ball. We're probably about 60-40, 65-35, maybe running the passing. So knowing that we're going to have the ball in our hands a lot, I always tell my guys, when we ball, we win. Okay, and that may not necessarily be the case, but I want them to believe that when we ball out, we win. Understanding that if we do well, it gives us a chance to win. Okay, they want them to have to accept that challenge so that they prepare accordingly. In the same respect to that, if we don't win, okay, my guys will never say, well, I only touched the ball 5 times. They're going to say, well, with those 5 touches, coach, I did not make enough plays. Okay, that's being uncommon. That's being disciplined and intentional in your thoughts, in your words, and your actions. Be intentional in your preparation, how you go about in the meeting room. Okay, make sure in your meeting room you're there to learn. You're there. Make sure you're paying attention, asking questions. You're engaged on the practice field, whether you're getting physical reps or mental reps, and then even reviewing your film and your tip sheets, reviewing the film from practice and getting your tip sheets that I provide to my guys. Understand that I'm not just going to get this tip sheet, look at it the one time in a meeting and never look at it again. I'm actually going to look at this on the regular. Being intentional practice players, every rep matters, right? Even the small ones, no matter how small, that's the detail part. And then if I understand that every rep matters, I have that one play, one rep at a time mentality, I can be disciplined, now I can be intentional. Understand that goals are not standards. Goals are things we want to do. Standards are things we're going to do, that we will do. Standards are controllable. And again, the whole thing, the message here in this is being able to have controlling the controllable and staying in the present moment. All of these things up here are controllable. Your effort, your attitude, toughness, those are things that you can control. Accepting the challenge mentally, knowing that it is on us as a unit to be able to for the team to be successful. That's controllable, right? That's in your mind. Being intentional in your preparation, that is controllable. Being intentional practice players, that is controllable. Next piece here, just some of our core values and the standards. At the very top, obviously, is eat. These are 4 things that are non-negotiable and really the 4 things you need in order to play running back at James Madison University. I already talked about the eat in detail. The next part, obviously, ball security. Got to have great ball security, take control, take care of the football. Be 100% in pass protection. Now, 100% in pass protection does not mean that you block him with the perfect technique every time. All that simply means is that you keep the quarterback clean. Okay, you keep the quarterback clean. You know who you're supposed to block, and you keep the quarterback clean. And the next piece there is competitive excellence. It's something I've heard those 2 words since my time at Ohio State. And all competitive excellence means is just to be prepared mentally and physically when your moment comes. I'll go into that competitive excellence in a little bit more detail here in a minute. Moving on to the teaching part, classroom management. When I went to Capital University, I did my undergrad in middle childhood education. I was a middle school, 7th grade social studies teacher for 3 years at an inner city charter school in Columbus, Ohio, a Title I school. And for those of you guys that are listening, I'm sure a lot of teachers on here that either have a teaching background or are currently teachers. You guys all agree with me when I say that classroom management is really at the root of everything and how you go about setting up an environment of learning. So I think the physical setup in your room and even the setup of how it feels in the room is very important. So I want to create a clean, inviting, and organized environment in my room. That means I always make sure I go to my meeting room before the meeting start, make sure it's neat and organized, make sure it's the way it's supposed to be, make sure the whiteboards are cleaned off, make sure the chairs are set where they should be, because when they walk in, I want them to feel that they're walking into a clean, inviting, and organized environment. I want this environment to be efficient for teaching. I want it to be beneficial for the players to maximize their learning, and I want everyone to see each other. So I have those tables like an L shape where they can all see each other because there's a brotherhood. I know sometimes the room that you have can limit how you can set your room up, but I think if you have a room where you can organize it, where everyone can see each other, it's the most beneficial, and it doesn't necessarily create a hierarchy. Because I've seen rooms before where it's kind of stacked, where you have the older guys up front, the younger guys in the back, and I don't want to create a hierarchy in my room. You definitely have the unspoken, older leaders in the room, some of your, senior leaders or even junior leaders, but I don't want to promote that in how I set the room up physically. And it also gives me space for demonstration, because there's sometimes where I physically want to just be up in the room and then maybe demonstrate our footwork for a power, or even just demonstrate, their pass throw technique. Continuing on here with the teaching part, the main thing with teaching, and I lean a lot on my teaching background for this, is to get the student to retain information so that he can apply that information and increase his performance because of the information. And the biggest thing in that entire saying is the application part. Yes, getting them to retain it is one thing. Getting them to memorize it is one thing, right? But really getting them to be able to apply the information that you've given them in the meeting room on the field so that they can perform at a high level is critical. And some of the ways to go about this are really just these 4 critical points. refer to as clear, clean, and concise, and direct. This is something I got, again, from Urban Meyer, and it's also something that kind of falls in line with how I was taught at Capital when I was going through my undergrad teaching degree. Starting with the very first part is just being clear in your teaching. That means you want to be organized and prepared and have a clear objective. And the biggest thing in having that preparedness in your teaching, something Coach Meyer would always say is act as if you're coaching Tom Brady, meaning that when you go into the meeting room, you better be prepared as you can be to be able to present the information that you're going to present to them. Don't go in there half knowing it. Don't go in there without having watched the entire third down blitz cut up 20 times so that you really understand what is happening. Make sure that you are prepared, because once you tell them something, and then if you have to take it back, and then you have to do that over and over again, you're going to lose credibility. So make sure that you're organized and prepared. Make it clean. Use your tools. Make cut-ups. Have tip sheets. Every single one of my meetings, they get a tip sheet. I always have a cut-up of something that we're going to watch. And I always want to make sure that I provide them with binders and notebooks so they can keep their stuff organized in notebooks so that they can have stuff to write in. Concise, breaking everything down to the smallest detail possible. Again, going back to being uncommon and being intentional, understanding that every little detail matters. And then being direct in your teaching. Engage the students. You want students as teachers, meaning that if you do a great job in how you teach them, okay, and you do a great job with your delivery and what you teach them, they should be able to get up in front of the classroom and teach it back to you. Maybe not word for word the way you said it, but in a way that it makes sense for everybody else to understand it. All right, and I think that's the biggest key in it. And again, that's the application part. Getting them to retain the information is one thing. Yes, I can talk about something, teach something, and then ask Solomon, hey, what did I just say? And he can, say the information back to me. Great. But can he go up to the front of the classroom, get on the board, and actually install the play himself? Or can he get up on there with the clicker in his hand and walk through a play out loud to his position mates by himself for them to be able to understand that? The atmosphere, again, should feel like home, should be inviting. Always have a notebook and pencil. I'm a little bit old school. I'm only 32, but I'm a little bit old school. Just some of the old school coaches I've had and also how I was raised. Don't have your phones out. Take your hoods down. Take your hats off. Be on time. Take breaks. I'm going to make a funny note about the hats comment because I know I'm sitting here with my hat on. But given the current situation, I haven't been able to go see my barber in 6 weeks. So I didn't want you guys to see my insanely crazy hair right now. Understanding that just no phones, no hoods, hats. Make sure that they're on time and take breaks when necessary. Don't sit in the meeting for an hour and a half straight. Make sure you take breaks. And sometimes those breaks might be, hey, take a 3-minute bathroom break. Get out of here. Okay. And a lot of times when I do that, I tell them to leave the room. Even if they don't have to go to the bathroom, I say, leave the room, come back in 3 minutes. Okay. Or sometimes to take breaks might just be something as simple as, I got a funny story to tell, or something reminding me of something that was funny, or maybe Latrell's got a funny story to tell or something. And that's just just a break within the meeting room right there, where you kind of taking a pause from football to kind of let loose for a second. Might take 2 or 3 minutes and then get right back to work. And then understanding what we say in this room, in this meeting room, stays in here. Okay, it's a brotherhood. This is our business. There's going to be some personal things shared in there. So whatever we say in that room stays in there. And the last thing is, don't be a presenter, be a teacher. Really, the difference is a presenter has information, he presents it and just hopes everyone figures it out, what he's talking about, whereas a teacher uses that information, presents it in such a way that the student can retain it, apply it, and use it for his performance on the field. And then lastly, make sure a couple things, you have eye contact in your interactions. Even when I'm talking to my guys, whether I'm giving a speech about something or I'm just talking about something, I will actually use their names. I will sit there and talk about, whatever, something, you know what I mean, Juwan and so, right, Percy, does that make sense, right? Okay, you got that, Latrell. And I'll use their names, okay, every so often because it just invites them to be engaged and to stay focused and locked in. Understand that each student has a different learning style. Every student is different. Okay, it's up to you as the teacher, the leader, to learn their styles and adjust your teaching accordingly. This also takes time. So when you first get there, you're not going to know how Juwan learns, how Percy learns, how Latrell learns, how Austin learns, how Solomon learns. They're all going to be different. It's up to you to figure out how they all learn, and then find a way to incorporate all of that within the meeting so that it can benefit everybody. So one of the ways I do my meetings with my cut ups is I embed practice video with game film. So for example, on Wednesdays we do third down. That's our big third down day. So obviously on those third down days, we're going to spend a lot of time on the third down blitz packages that we will see in that given week. So I actually start with, again, every meeting I give them a tip sheet. They physically get a tip sheet in their hand. And a lot of times, like on those Wednesday meetings in the season, the tip sheet will have the blitzes drawn up, their top blitzes drawn up, how we're going to ID certain things, and a couple of things that are important for them to key on. And then when I go to the cut up now, there's going to be a picture of that same blitz that is drawn up that they had. After that clip where the picture is drawn up, is going to be a clip of the opponent that we're facing, of that blitz that they're actually running. And I'll probably have it shown, you know, if it's a blitz that they run the 2x2 and 3x1, for example, I have both. It's just a 3x1 blitz like corner cat. You know, I'll show that one, but they'll see the drawn clip and then the video clip. And then what we do on Thursday, when we get back and actually review the practice from the previous day, from Wednesday, what I will do is at every practice, we have a blitz pickup period. So I will take that same cut up, have that same blitz drawn where I have it, and then put the actual practice clip of my guys going against that blitz in practice. And then I will have the opponent clip of that same blitz in there. So they're seeing the visual part of the drawn part, they're seeing themselves do it, and then they see the game clip of it. I think the more they see it, the better they're able to do their job. And we kind of do that. I usually have probably 2 or 3 clips of the opponent blitz, 2 or 3 of the practice clip, and then obviously the one drawing of that. We go through that Wednesday, we go through that Thursday, and then we go through it again on Friday. And then a lot of times, like when we stay at the hotel on Friday nights, they'll come get my laptop and then watch those cut-ups again. The other way, as far as doing my install cut-ups, when I was with the 49ers this past spring, last in 2019, those 2.5 weeks I was there, I spent those 2.5 weeks with the quarterbacks. And Kyle Shanahan, you know, he's really in the quarterback room, running the meeting room. Shane Day is a quarterback coach, and Mike LaFleur is a pass game coordinator there as well. And what I really liked is how the cut-ups were organized, and how Shane, the quarterback coach, really went about organizing his cut-ups. And I figured, hey, if this works for NFL quarterbacks, I'm going to take this back and do the same thing with my guys. So essentially, for example, if we're installing our inside zone, I'll have inside zone against an over front, and I'll show that inside zone making a front side cut against an over front or backside cut against an over front. And I'll probably have 1 or 2 clips of each. And then I'll go to the next one. Now here's inside zone against under. Here's a front side cut against under. Here's a backside cut against under. Probably a couple clips of that. And then I'll have one against the front side rifle. A front side rifle is just a simple edge blitz, one guy plus one coming off the front side. Then I'll do the same thing off the backside. I'll have one from internal. So that way they're kind of seeing a sequence. It's not just a random cut up of a bunch of inside zone clips. I think they can kind of just see it against this front, against this front, against this front, against this blitz, against this blitz, kind of just the general ones. I think it helps them kind of learn it and see it continuously in a certain way. And I do that for all of our runs as well as the passes. All right, going back to the competitive excellence part. I mentioned earlier, competitive excellence simply means being prepared to perform at a high level when called upon. And in order to do that, you have to be able to have game reps and mental reps. Now, the hard part about the game reps, and the game reps are just practice reps that you take against in a team setting or 7-on-7 setting or an inside zone setting where you're actually running your plays. The problem with the game reps is there's only so many to go around. So Solomon might not get the same amount of inside zone reps against a certain look as Percy will. And, you know, Percy might not get a certain amount of a 6-man protection as Jawan will. But understanding that the mental reps of it, the observation of it is key. So in everything that we do, they know that when we go to practice, okay, they are going to line up behind me. I always stand right behind the offense. I essentially stand right behind the running back because I don't have the same vantage point that he does. I want to see what he sees. And then they stand just to my side so they also have the same vantage points. They can see what he sees. And actually what they do is they go through the process of receiving the play as if they were in the game. So they'll look to the sideline, get the play, okay, get lined up, and then they're standing behind everything, but they're looking at the same thing they would, surveying the defense the same way they would as if they were actually in the game. And then when the ball gets snapped, they're going through it mentally and getting that mental rep of what's actually happening, okay? And when you couple the game reps that they get along with the mental reps that they get, I think you're going to be able to create a feeling of confidence in their preparation that's unmatched. I spent a lot of time throughout the week where I have one of our GAs. He always puts the numbers in of each player that's in on every single rep. And after every single practice, I go through each player. So I'll pick all of Solomon's reps and all of Percy's reps, and I will look at what plays they ran against what look, so that I can make sure that, hey, I at the very least want each one of my guys that are going to play in a game on Saturday to get each look at least one time. So Solomon might only get that cat blitz look one time, whereas Jawan might get it 3 times, okay? But at least Solomon was able to get a physical rep for one time. However, the mental reps are unlimited, the amount of you can get those. And those mental reps really also reflect in the meeting room where you're watching the film. Again, it's all about being detailed, being disciplined, being intentional, being uncommon. I'm very, very proud to say, and please don't take this as a boasting kind of way, I'm just very proud to say in our 16 games, we threw the ball 400 times. In almost all of our passes, our running backs are involved in the pass protection in some way. We only had 1 missed assignment in pass protection through 16 games. And where we didn't know who to block or block the wrong guy one time. Very proud of that. And I think it's a testament to how they go about their preparation. They're very intentional. And I think those mental reps on the practice field and even how they are in the meeting room really, really, really make the difference. Understand that these guys will be able to learn as much as you're willing to teach them. Okay, and one stigma that is out there, which being a former running back, my dad was a running back, and I've coached running back pretty much my entire life. There's a stigma out there that running backs are not very smart. That's the stigma. And I don't agree with that. I'm probably biased. I play the position and I coach it. But I do believe a very, very, very important thing to keep in mind about any of your guys is they are willing to learn as much as you are willing to teach them. You just have to understand how you're going to go about teaching them. Understand their learning styles, yes, but know that they are willing to, they are able to learn as much as you're willing to teach them. So I spend a lot of time in the off season, in the summer, in training camp of teaching my guys how to read a defense. They understand what they're supposed to be looking at. If we're in pass protection, they understand what we're supposed to be looking at. If it's a run play, they understand what's happening. They understand safety rotation. They understand 2 high, 1 high, no high, okay? They understand the types of blitz they're gonna get. They understand all of those things. And in the beginning, it was a struggle because some of them hadn't been taught that. But after just continuous repetitions and talking about it and getting the game rep and getting the mental rep and getting back to the meeting room and talking about it and getting back out to the practice field and doing it again and again, okay, they're able to now get to a point where they're able to regurgitate it back. And one thing that I was actually really looking forward to before this whole COVID-19 pandemic happened is since I have everybody returning, I started in February when we started meeting again in the middle of February. Our very first meeting back, we talked about our 6-man protection, and I did a quick review of it, of what it is, what we call it, probably 10, 15 minutes. Then I had Percy, one of my older guys, come up on the board, and he taught the classroom. Then I had Jawan get up, and he did the same thing to the classroom. And as they were up there teaching it, I periodically would stop them and kind of coach them up on how they could maybe present something better or teach something better, or the words they could have used a sense, or how they could have organized their thoughts better to show them, hey, this is the best way you can teach so that it makes sense and it flows better. And then what I did then the second and third meeting, really in that third meeting, instead of them just getting up on the board and drawing circles and squares and, okay, this is who we ID and this is who we ID, we went back to some game film from last year. And I gave them the remote. And I said, Luttrell, take the remote, go up to the front of the screen, okay? We're in 6-man protection. And that's all I told him. We're in 6-man protection. And he would stand there and he would look at the defense. And I wanted him to be able to tell us what they were doing, what the structure looked like, who we think he should be IDing, why are we IDing that person, who does he have in the picture, and then hit play. And it was going really well. The older guys were a little bit better at it than the younger guys, obviously, more reps at it. But for the most part, everyone was doing a really good job of, especially Percy and Latrell were really good at it. And I was really looking forward to build on that. And again, that goes back to being a presenter and not a teacher. If you are teaching them properly, they should be able to be teachers themselves. Again, going back, just being able to understand everything going on. One clip I wanted to show you here. We're playing Villanova in a very hotly contested game. At the time, I think Nova was number 5 in the country. We were number 2. They probably, I've never in my life been house blitzed the amount of times I have in this game. They brought heat almost in every play. Okay, now we had a look here in the game in our 6-man protection that they showed only one time. And I think at this point they had played 6 or 7 games prior to getting to us. They had only shown this blitz one time. And what they actually end up doing is they're blitzing this uncapped defender right here. And we watched the clip one time. You know, Percy looked at me like, Coach, that guy's uncapped. Why is he blitzing? Was it a mistake? And I say, you know what? It might be a mistake. It might not. You never know. We're going to prepare for it accordingly. So we really only ran this blitz twice in practice because we as a staff weren't sure. It only happened one time. And it actually didn't look as clean as it did when I played this clip here when they ran it in the games a couple games ago. But we prepared for it. Percy prepared for it. He got his mental reps in the meeting room. We talked about it. He got his physical reps in practice and his mental reps. He studied his tip sheets so that when it actually came time in the game, he was able to see that uncapped defender, get the block picked up so that the quarterback is able to step up in the pocket and convert the first down on what was a 3rd and long. Again, very proud moment. But again, these are just things you cannot get to this point if you don't teach them the ins and outs of reading and defense. Pass protection is so important. It doesn't get talked about enough for the running backs because everyone just expects running backs to be runners and pass protection guys second. But again, I want my guys to be 100% in pass protection. It's one of our core values. Keep the quarterback clean, know who you're supposed to block. And since he prepared accordingly, since he was intentional in his preparation, he was able to see this uncapped guy coming on the blitz, and he was able to get him picked up. Just a couple materials here I want to share with you what I use. So on the left side here are my tip sheets that I use. I give one of these to them every day. I have something drawn on it, whether it's something that a new play we're installing or an adjustment to a play we have, or if it's a blitz that they're running or a certain defense with some comments on the side. The big thing with the comments on the side is to make sure you don't get too wordy. Okay, keep it as simple and clear and concise as you can, so that they don't get overwhelmed with the amount of words on that list. Highlight the words that are important, whether you bold them or you highlight them in a different color so they can see it. And then I will take these same tips, and then going into our Friday meeting, I will actually combine all of them into a game tip packet where they will have all their tips together, because throughout the week, as you know, we might have something in on Monday that I have on the tip sheet. Then by Wednesday, we might have taken the play out. So I'll adjust the tip sheets accordingly, give them a new stack on Friday, and they'll have all the drawn tips in there along with their comments. And then the very next thing I do after that, there'll be pictures of all of their top blitzes drawn up. And then right following that is where you're going to see where I have this blitz screenshots on there. And all I have is pictures of their top blitzes. This is when we're getting ready for Monmouth in the second round of playoffs. And I'm always highlighting the safeties for them on the pictures, because sometimes in the pictures it's hard for them to see who the safety is. Highlight the safeties, show them what the blitz is so they can just get the image. And again, it all goes back to understand that all your students learn differently. Some of them can look at the pictures, understand it, no problem. Some of them can't. Some of them need to have a picture of it actually to be able to understand it. Some of them need both. Some of them need video. Some of them need all of the above. So I just combine all of these into one packet so that it's all there for them. And for the ones who might not necessarily benefit from looking at the drawn pictures, but benefit better from looking at the actual pictures that I the screenshot, then they'll look at that. After that's done, I'll have a test section, and all the test section is this exact same tip sheet template as here. I just take the comments out, okay, and I take the drawing out, and I'll just simply have the name of the play drawn up top. and then they will just simply draw the play and assignments for everybody else. The next thing I do in that, at really the beginning of it, obviously a cover page, and then the very next page is a quote. I guess you could say that I am a quote guy, but I'm not someone who just has random quotes from anywhere. All of my quotes serve its purpose. I'm very intentional about how I go about selecting my quotes, and really the purpose I want for the quotes that I use in these game tip packets is they should really just enforce the message that's already being preached, whether it's a message I'm preaching or it's a message that the head coach might have given that week. But I just want those quotes to enforce that. So like, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. All right. We talked about discipline as being part of our culture. Right. And you have to be able to be disciplined if you want to be intentional. So just talking about that. And then the next one over there is talking about seizing your moment at the bottom, staying in the moment, controlling the controllables. And what I will do is I start every meeting when I get to this on Fridays, when I get to the tip sheet packet, is I'll have one of the guys read it, and then they'll give me their interpretation of it. And then I'll kind of, once he gives his interpretation, I'll kind of go on my spiel, give my little quick speech, and then we'll go through the packet together before we go out for our Friday walkthrough. A couple other things. Here's my script and comments page I use for practices, scrimmages, and games. Essentially, all this left side play number, personnel number. Then here goes the actual play call, the player that's in the game right there. And then I actually have a column for our core values right here: ball security, pass protection, and competitive excellence. A column for missed assignments, and misread and a missed block. Now, I kind of categorize misread and missed blocks differently than a missed assignment. A missed assignment to me means that he did not do his job at all. He was supposed to in pass protection block this guy. He didn't block him at all. He completely missed him. That would be a missed assignment. Whereas a missed block would be he went to go block the right guy, but the guy swam him or spun him or whatever. He just simply missed it. Okay. And then the misread would be in the run game where it should have gone front side, and he, was trying to be Reggie Bush and circle the field and didn't make the proper read. Then the eat column right there, I put a 1 in there if it's an eat, a minus if it's a loaf, and then the explosive touchdowns and plus, double minus, minus, and then no grade just means if the play was dead. Kind of move on. Then on the right side, just simple comments. Again, the comments aren't very in-depth because we always go through these together. So a lot of times these comments just serve as a reminder for me of what exactly I was looking at. So when we go through it together, that second one there, just, effort, careful to block in the back is a play. Kid had great effort. He was trying to get a guy, and he kind of hit him in that suspect area where it was kind of on his side, maybe on his back. So it's just simple as that, kind of. And then if I have to go into more detail of a certain comment, I do it. The ones where you just simply say, okay, those are just plays where really no comment was necessary. It might just be one of our past concepts. He had a swing route, and he ran his swing route, and that was it. Like, the swing route was good, and he was good. Okay, no need to spend time on a play where there's nothing to necessarily be coached up on. I do look for teachable moments when I have those. But, if there's nothing to be talked about, move on. Here's my grade sheet.
Coach, in that previous sheet, it was asked if that was like a game day log or film review.
I primarily, so this is when I watch the game film, I have this in front of me, and I put the play call in, and I go through each one of these, watch the play, give them a grade, plus, double, plus, minus, whatever, and then give a comment on it. So I really use this after games and after scrimmages. When it comes to as far as just like a Tuesday practice or a Wednesday practice, I have this comment column on the practice film where I just put it in there, and then it shows up on the screen. I don't go as in depth with this for just a regular practice, really just for scrimmages and games. Here's my grade sheet. I know it seems like a lot, but it all serves its purpose. It's grading the things that are important. At the top, it's just their pluses, double plus, minus, double minus is tallied up. This is probably one of the best games. This is actually the best game we played all year. As a unit, we had over 310 rushing yards, average 6 yards a carry, had like 5 touchdowns. So there's a couple guys that played pretty much perfect. Now the double pluses can outweigh the minuses, but in order to get a double plus, you really have to do one of two things. You have to have an explosive play, which is 12 yards or more, or you have to score a touchdown. Those are the only ways to get a double plus. A double minus would be a missed assignment or a missed block or a missed read. And then a minus would just be something as simple, as maybe used bad technique or used the wrong footwork or his eyes were bad. Anything that's schematically driven or thought driven. And a plus just means he did his job. Like on a swing route, for example, you ran a swing, good, plus, move on. And then I keep track of the MAs, missed blocks, missed reads, the eats, the loafs, and then their stats and so on and so forth. And then always I give a unit grade at the bottom. And then the unit grade at the bottom, and again, it's all about the unit. We're all in this together. Behavior produces results. All right. So again, leaders create a culture. Right, the culture drives the behavior. The behavior produces results. So as a result of the culture that was created, the behavior that became as a result of that, the guys were very, very, very intentional about how they went about their business every single day. And because of that, they were able to perform at a very high level. We had 4 guys that had over 380 yards. 2 of them had over 900 yards. There was multiple guys that contributed in this. And I only had this here as a sheer testament to how behavior produces results. It's only possible to be able to have multiple guys playing and cheering each other on if there's a true love for each other within that unit. If there's any kind of selfishness, if it's all about me, it's not going to work. So really just promoting that over and over and over again is truly important. The last thing I want to touch on, leadership, and I put this last for a reason. Really, everything I just talked about was leadership. Again, the very beginning, we talked about the performance pathway and talking about how leadership creates a culture. So I talked about creating that culture and how that drives behavior, and then how that behavior produces results. Just a couple of things in this leadership section I kind of want to touch on to keep in mind as a leader. Another quote here, I'm pretty sure this is the last quote on here, I promise. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I found it in a book called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. I really recommend it. If you have not read that book, it's a really, really, really good book, again, called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. So again, the uncommon culture, right? You create the culture and now live it to the fullest extent. You can't preach something to them and then you not live it yourself. So you have to be intentional yourself. You have to make sure that you're disciplined in your actions, your thoughts, and your attitude. Okay, carry yourself accordingly. Treat everyone the same. I don't care if you are a walk-on guy, or if you're a full scholarship guy, or if you ran for 1,500 yards the year before, or if you did nothing the year before, okay? None of that means anything. We are all one brotherhood. Everyone is equally important. And within that saying, I understand that I promote, where I talked about everything is on us. When we ball, we win. It's about us. It's all on us. The same thing goes reflected to my scout team running back, okay? I tell my scout team running back, look, it's your job to get that defense ready. We're about to play the #1 running back in the country. All right, this guy leads the country in rushing. It's your job to get them ready. And I want him to take pride in how he goes about his preparation on the scout team, knowing that he's going to have a direct impact on how our defense does. And then on the flip side of that, after the game, let's say we held said team to that top running back in the country to 100 yards below his total yards per game. I'll tell the kid, look, man, that's because of you, because of the work you put in on the scout team. Our defense was ready, and they were able to shut down their run game. Whether that's true or not, I don't really care. But I want him and my guys to believe that. Again, just creating an environment of belief. Make sure you listen. When they talk, you listen, okay? Always be on the lookout for what's going on. Sometimes listening isn't always auditory. Sometimes it's visual, okay? Make sure you love often and care deeply for them. A couple things here. I know it's an older picture from when I was in Elon, but it kind of portrays what I'm trying to get at. Demeanor is a big thing, and we always talk about our guys having proper demeanor and how they carry themselves. I think it's important for us as leaders to have that proper demeanor too. Now, for me, my demeanor is a little bit different from meetings and practice when we're doing preparation compared to the games. During meetings and practice, I'm high energy. High energy doesn't mean I'm running around rah yelling. I just want them, the second I walk into the room, okay, I want them to be able to feel positive energy. I want to be able to set the tone. I think the most important thing to get going off on the right foot is in that meeting room. And if you go into the meeting room with low energy, you're dragging ass, you're not feeling it, you're not enthusiastic, then they are going to be the exact same way. The players will go as you go. They're looking at you because you are the leader. So you have to make sure that you are living the standard in which you want them to live by as well. Again, the players will go as you go. So now same thing in practice. When I'm in practice, they make it like in the scrimmage, they make a big play, or if we're going team offense versus defense, they make a big play, a big block or not. I show a lot of enthusiasm. I dap them up. I'm excited for them. Okay. And then in the same way, if it's a bad play, they do something, they just messed up, made a mistake, making sure that I don't lose my cool. I don't completely just start yelling at them, because I think that does nothing as well. Mistakes are going to happen. It's okay if mistakes happen. The biggest key is just to get them to understand of why that mistake happened, get it coached up, and let's get it fixed the next time. Now, on game days, my demeanor is the exact opposite. Very calm, cool, and collected. It's night and day from practice. My job on the game day, and what I truly believe is, if I've done a good job of preparing my guys for the game, when we get to the game, it's really just on them to play. You go out there and play, do your thing, and I'm just here to help you make some adjustments and answer some questions and get feedback from you of what you're seeing out on the field. But I want to be able to exude confidence, okay? I want to be able to keep my calm no matter how high or how low the game is going, that I am even keeled. And I'm controllable. I'm controlling my effort, I'm controlling my attitude, my mindset, and everything. I'm staying in the moment, because if they see me calm, if something goes bad, they will remain calm, okay? If something great happens, okay, and they see me not make a huge deal about it, yes, it's great that we scored a touchdown. Yes, the big play was great, but we got to move on to the next play. If they see me in control and not too high on my emotions, they will also be in control and not too high on my emotions. I think it's really important to be able to do that. Again, the players will go as you go. Uplift when needed and light a fire when necessary. There's going to be times where you need to lift them up. Maybe they're down in the dumps. Their confidence is down. Okay, lift them up. And there's going to be times where, maybe he's dragging ass. You're just going to have to light a fire under him to get him going. But pick your spots. Make sure you pick your spots. And be a reasonable yeller. And what I call a reasonable yeller is, for me personally, I don't yell at them if they make a mistake. He missed the blitz. Okay, well, let me find out why he missed the blitz. What was he looking at? All right. Now, on the flip side of that, when I do yell, and if you ask my guys right now, what's the one thing that sets Coach Merritt off, is if they don't have a great eat mindset, they don't have great effort, they don't have a great attitude, they don't have toughness, that's really what sets me off more than anything else, because those are things that should be controlled. If you have lack of effort, I'm going to lose my cool. If you have a bad attitude, I'm going to lose my cool. If you're not showing toughness, I'm going to lose my cool. And I think those are things, reasonable time to yell. And those are control, and those are things that they can control as well. Almost done here in the home run stretch. I think there's 2 slides left. Love you, players, as your own son. I do not have any kids yet, but I do have a bunch of younger siblings, and I really see them as my brothers, and I tell them that all the time. But I love them, care for them deeply, and I tell them that all the time. And, I tell them that from the beginning. They might not always say it back in the beginning, but as time goes on, and as they start to feel that what I'm saying is real, they'll say it back as well. Spend time with them. Off the field and on the field. Obviously, on the field during stretch lines, I always like to go to each one of them, ask them how they're doing. Obviously, do the same thing in meetings, but then also off the field. This is a picture of them at our house last summer after barbecue. There's been times also in the season where we just went out to eat, or maybe, at the cafeteria, I might see a group of them and just go sit with them, hang out with them, spend time with them, and talk about stuff other than ball. And also something I enjoy doing is spending time with other players on the team. You're never going to be able to get as close to other players on the team if you're just a position coach, but it's still good to be able to get close to some of the other guys. So when you have a chance, like at lunchtime or like a pregame meal, for example, or like during training camp, for example, last year, one of our meals, I ended up sitting at a table with one of our stud D linemen, and he was sitting with our stud linebacker and one of our corners and a couple other linebackers. None of my guys were there. And I just sat with them. There was no table. I sat with them and just chopped it up. And I think that, that kind of shows that you truly do care about the kids on that team. Because, again, at the end of the day, it is all about them. And then push them as much off the field as you do on the field. Making sure that you're pushing them academically, but also understanding what their capacity is. One of my players, I know he can be an A, B student, so I want to make sure I push him to be an A student. Okay, I think that's what he can get to. One of my other guys, I know he's going to have to try extremely, extremely hard to even at the very most get a B, in most of his classes. But I'm going to try to get him to a B, and I'm going to push him to that. And I'm going to tell him I believe in him. I'm going to offer support, as much support as I can. Be a mentor, have real life conversations, even the hard ones. I spend a lot of time throughout the year. I pick times where I talk about things like mental health. I talk about relationships, even talk about, going to parties. The reality is the kids are going to go to parties, and I don't tell my guys not to go. I don't tell my guys, to not go hang out with this girl or that guy or something. Be responsible, make good decisions. Be intentional in everything that you do. Be disciplined with your thoughts, your actions, your words, your attitude. Have those real life conversations, even the hard ones. It might be uncomfortable, but that's okay. And be yourself. They can see right through you if you aren't. That's the biggest key. Don't try to be someone you're not. Be yourself. And I think they'll appreciate it if you're being real. And my family is their family. I'm very, very fortunate, blessed with my wife, Brittany. She goes to every single game, home or away, since we've been together. We've been together now 11 years this summer. And she's been with me throughout my entire coaching career. And even when I was at Ohio State, when I was still a GA, before she could actually fly with us, she and my mom would drive to every game. They drove from Columbus, Ohio, all the way down to New Orleans, all the way to New Jersey to go to the Rutgers game, all the way up to Illinois to go to the Northwestern game. They went everywhere. And what's important about that is I want my family to be around as much as possible so that she can get to know my guys and they can get to know her. One of the first things she does after I walk off the field, hug, win or loss, whatever, it's a quick hug and a kiss. And she's like, all right, cool, we're the boys. I want to see the boys. So she always makes sure she finds all the boys before we leave the facility to go home. And every time they see her, they're happy to see her. She sees them, happy to see them. It's always a hug. It's always love. She'll cook for them. Every Friday, she makes some baked goods for them. It's anything to kind of show love, to kind of open up our home and show them that, hey, you might be away from your families, but we are your family as well, and you're always welcome. You always have someone that you can rely on. Well, fellas, that's it. I know I went about 15 minutes longer than I had anticipated. I definitely appreciate you guys listening. I hope there was something in there that you guys were able to take with you about just building an uncommon culture. Again, the biggest thing is to keep in mind is as leaders, we're the ones who create the culture. The type of culture you create, whether it's a positive or negative one, a great one or a bad one, a strong one or a weak one, is really dependent on you. And what that culture is built on will depend on whether or not the foundation can last. And if it's a really strong culture, no matter what happens, no matter how high or low things are going, you're going to be able to overcome anything because you're going to be able to do it together. Whether you're 10-0 or 0-10 doesn't matter. At the end of the day, a culture should be built on being able to stick together and to keep pushing forward and staying in the moment, doing the things that are hard, doing the things that everyone else doesn't want to do, being different, and overall just being uncommon, being intentional with your words, your actions, and your attitude. Again, hope you guys learned something. I really appreciate you guys listening. And, if there's any other questions, I'll definitely take those now.
Coach, I really appreciate that, man. Like I said, man, I always get jacked up for these culture talks. And, I was posting a couple things as you were speaking throughout on Twitter. But, it's a great job. And obviously, if anybody has any questions, his contact information's there. I do got to get set up for the next one. But definitely appreciate you jumping back on, man. And once again, man, it was always solid. Always solid.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for everything that you do.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach.